Hello and welcome to the first round of the British Formula TSC Championship, hosted by the Sim Club. That's right, we're back! We have a few changes that you might have already noticed, and some that you might notice as we go along. Things that stay the same, I'm Tom O'Farrell, and in the commentary box is Scott Thorne. We'll be catching up with Scott in a few minutes' time. But first, let's take a quick look at the calendar. As the name suggests, it's an all-British track calendar. This is round 1, Donington Park, on their GP layout. Round 2 just happens to come next, and it's Brands Hatch GP in 2 weeks' time. We then have a little break before round 3 on the Silverstone International Circuit on the 12th of June. 2 weeks later, that's followed by Snetterton. Croft and Alton Park finish off the championship in July. No changes in the running order from our European BMW M2 Championship. Drivers are currently getting ready for their qualifying and have had since Monday to practice. Damien Hall was quickest so far in the practice sessions, and he's done over 130 laps. Race 1 will be a 20-minute dash plus 1 lap. Race 2 will be a full reverse grid from the Race 1 finishers. If you're sitting there thinking you'd like to give this a go, get in touch with us on our social media accounts. We are open to having people join us for a full season or just a few one-off events. Also, if you fancy giving commentary a go, please do get in touch. No experience is necessary, we're open to everyone. Not to forget that you can leave a comment on the stream too, get involved and tell us who you are supporting today, and we might just give you a shout out too. We should now be able to speak with our commentator Scott. Good evening, Scott. Having a few weeks off was nice, but it's even better to get back racing, isn't it?
It is. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. The qualifying session is now underway, as you can see. It's great to be back. I would say I've missed it, but now that lockdown is started to ease, it has been not quite nice to have some Saturdays to myself. But this long season is going to be great, and it's going to be really, really fascinating. So. As you can see, the drivers have just started their qualifying laps at the moment. So drivers are just coming round to complete their first fast lap, their opening lap. So as Tom mentioned, let's just run through the sessions and how it will work today for those who are new of joining us. We have the qualifying session, which is ongoing at the moment. It's a 15-minute session. The results from this session will put the grid for race 1. Then we'll have a 20-minute plus 1 lap race. Then the driving positions from the first race will be reversed and will be the grid for the second race, which will also be 20 minutes plus 1 lap. So drivers at the Donington Park circuit, the Grand Prix Loop, one of the most famous circuits in the UK, if not the world, and probably has one of Ayrton Senna's most famous drives in '93, I think it was, in the wet, where he overtook 5 cars on the first lap. So we're using the same layout as that, although albeit the cars are significantly slower than what we would expect there. Just to give you some timings or what to expect. So Damien Hall's done a 1:28.6 to start with. The fastest lap in practice was 1:26.4, so there's a little bit of time there. We are expecting, or Damien is hoping, for the times to drop into the 25, so it'll be interesting to see if that happens. The drivers will go out and do 2 or 3 laps on the red sidewall tyre, as you can see there, which is the soft tyre. It can take a lap to warm up, so drivers' first flying lap might not necessarily be their fastest lap. It will tend to be the second or third lap that they'll do it. So Damien's been held up with a little bit of traffic, and you can see he's backed off a bit, so he's trying to get a little bit of room, and we'll follow him by this lap around the Donington Park GP circuit. It's a great circuit. It's about 2.5 miles long. It has 12 turns, some of the most famous corners in the world, especially the crane occurs, which in these cars is absolutely flat out. So there's only one real heavy braking point, which is towards the end of the circuit. So you can go down here into third gear, can run wide and don't lose too much time there, but it's best to keep it off the curbs there. So it's flat all the way through down here. It might just hit sixth. Yes, it does. You'll drop it down 1 or 2 gears, and then early on the power there, got a little bit of a wiggle, runs it out wide, but again doesn't lose too much time. Flat all the way through here. You need to brake as late as possible. There's two lines through here. You can keep it tight or move into the middle there. You can run wide a little bit there, but if you go too far out wide, you can see the car in front picks up a little bit of dirt. Flick down, a little bit of a brake, and then all the way. You've got to unwind that wheel. And let's hope we're coming up to the car in front. This is a very, very deceiving corner. You can take it quite quick. It's a late brake, tab on the curb. If you take too much of the inside of that curb, it does exactly what's just happened there, and you lose the rear of the car. You really it's very, very knife edge point, and you've got to be careful on the second part of that corner. If you take too much of the curb, you will get your track time disallowed. So one of the tyres has to stay on the red and white painted curb for that track to be valid. We just saw the last braking point with a heavy braking point there. You've got a little bit of understeer here as he puts the power down, comes out. So he'll hit about 5th or maybe 6th gear as he crosses the line. He improves slightly, 126.7, consolidates his fastest lap time there at the moment. So times, everyone at the moment, as you can see, is on soft tyre. So as I mentioned at the start of the series, we're going to be running soft, medium and hard tyres. The softs you'll expect every driver to take on for qualifying, and on the car, on the outside of the tyres there, you can see that they have a red marking on the sidewall. The medium tyre will be a race tyre potentially, and that will have a yellow band around the outside, and then the hard tyre will have a white band. So very similar bandings to what you have in Formula 1. The race, it will be quite interesting to see how the strategy unfolds. Tyre wear is quite a big thing on these cars, and having to take the fuel on board, it will be interesting to see who takes the medium tyres and if they survive. Speaking to some drivers in practice during the week, during some long fuel runs, the tyre wear is quite high. So I would imagine everyone in race 1 will probably do a medium tyre run and see how it goes. But then we may see some drivers in race 2 look to do maybe a hard tyre if they've been a bit too harsh on their tyres. Another thing you need to factor in is spinning or running wide. That will absolutely destroy the tyres. It will make them really hot as well, so the drivers will need to back off for a couple of corners to try and cool them down. If you try and accelerate with red hot rear tyres, the car will just simply spin around. So it's a very, very difficult car to maintain the balance of it. It's quite a fun car to drive. It has a lot of grip on it. As we follow Robbie Stapleford, who's taking a slight daisy cutting line there. So Robbie Stapleford is our M2 champion from our inaugural series. So it'll be interesting to see how he's getting on. I don't think he's had much time to practice this week. As you can see, drivers there just letting Robbie go through as he has priority. So he hasn't had much practice at the moment. He's on the soft tyres, as is everyone else. So Damien at the moment is out front with a 126.7. You have Marcel Cruz in second place, who's just under 4/10 off. Then a big gap back to third position of Craig Arkell. He's 1.1 seconds off, but Mick Sutton as well, 1.1 as well. So it's close between third and fourth there. Fifth, sixth and seventh again are within a few tenths. Luke Stevens back in eighth position with 1.9 seconds off. George Grundon in ninth, and Jacob Ostowski rounding out the top 10. So we have 17 drivers registered for the championship. Unfortunately, for a number of circumstances, a few of them have been unable to participate today. But throughout the season, we should see numbers of around about 15 or so, which will be great. And as Tom has already said, if you want to join us for a one-off race or for the rest of the series, you can do. It's free to enter. Just let us know, drop us a message or join our Discord, which you'll see come across the top of the banner. And anyone is welcome to join, regardless of your experience. So we've got 4.5 minutes to go. So drivers would have probably done their last pit stop. So these last few laps that we're going to see from them will be their last pit stops. The last flying laps. There's been a bit of a change around there. So George Grundy's now gone fastest with a 26.1. Robbie Stapleford in second place with a 26.5, and Damien the 26.7 still. So these last few laps are going to be crucial to find out who's going to be on pole position for today. As always, we'll have our pit lane reporter, Ted Tomo Farrell-Kravitz. So during the race, he'll be popping in and giving us a description as to what's going on throughout the field in case there's anything that I have missed. So we'll speak to him as and when we get on. So a little bit about these cars. These are called the Tatius FA01. So this car is a real-life car. It was run in an Italian Formula Bar series in Italy from 2005 to 2013. So the car is no longer an active race car. It's an Italian chassis, and it's very, very similar to the Formula Renault series that you would have seen most likely either in a touring car package many years ago. It's the same company that built those. So there is a very similar design to them as you can appreciate there. So we just saw Robbie Stapleford spinning it out the Melbourne Loop. That's the slowest corner on the track. And these cars, as I mentioned, when the tyres get hot, which they will do on these soft tyres, it's very, very difficult to keep temperature low. So because drivers are flat out, they'll have low fuel runs. It's very, very easy to get that back end stepping out as you put the power down. The following corner is another hairpin, but it's not quite as slow, and it's a bit of more of a swooping line there. So you won't tend to see drivers lose control there. They'll run out wide on the grass, which George almost does there. But it will be that corner that we could see a few spins, and also running wide. These cars don't like bumps, so if you run wide or if you take too much of the inside curve, it can really unsettle the car. So we're following Alex Grange round now at the moment. He's got half a lap to go. He is currently set a personal best sector 1, which is about a few tenths off the overall fastest time. He's down, so he's 50.1, which is about 7 tenths off. So if he can keep on to that pace, he should push him up a few places. He's 2 seconds slower at the moment. But you can see drivers are, some are taking slow laps. So someone's gone very, very wide off there. I think that's Marcel Cruz. You can just see all the dust kicking up there. So hopefully that hasn't put Alex off at all there. So this looks like it's going to be a faster time from Alex. He was fastest in sector 1. He didn't improve in sector 2, but as he runs very, very wide there, which doesn't help, that will lose him a little bit of time as he goes across the line there, and he doesn't improve, so he stays in 8th position there. So we see a few drivers running wide at the moment, and as Alex does again, these cars are very, very temperamental. You feel that you can drive them faster than they can, so you would need a good setup here. Because you have the downforce, you think you almost have an unlimited amount of grip, and some of these corners are quite tighter than normal. So that's a great line there through Luke. So Luke really sort of demonstrates the limit you can have. The car very, very twitchy in the first part of the corner, but managed to keep it within track limits. And you can really gain half a second easy just through that one corner on its own. So George Grundy's in the pits. There's 40 seconds left to go, so he's not going to improve on his time. He's confident in that. Robbie Stapleford and Damien Hall. So Damien's improved a little bit. He's now half a second off. Marcel Cruz is close to Damien. And there's a little bit of a gap forming from the top 4 there. So Craig O'Hell in 5th, 1.5 seconds off. Mick Sutton in 7th. Who is also in the pit, so his session is done. So we're just following Craig now. So he's done a 2:51, so he's either spun or just come out of the pit. So he's got one more lap to go as he crosses the line. So 1:27.0. So that's improved his time actually. It put him up into 4th, so that's a great lap there. He was 1.5 seconds off, so he's half the deficit. So his question is, has he got enough fuel in? Mick Sutton is in the pits and finished. Luke Stevens has gone across the line and finished his lap time. Damien Hall has finished. He improved again slightly, but is 4 tenths off pole position. So let's follow Craig round and see what he does. So he's 2 tenths off on sector 1, 20 points, 26.0, which is not a personal best as well. So he's really pushing, but 2 tenths off. So Let's see how he gets along in sector 2. Most people across the line, apart from Craig and Luke now, Alex Brange as well, who's coming through. I think Alex is behind, so he's behind Craig anyway, so that's fine. So Craig's 3/10 off, so he's not lost another tenth or so, which isn't too bad, but he missed the apex there, and that would have lost him a lot of time. So he's got to brake hard on coming through here. This is a very, very late braking zone when you're on board the driver. It's incredibly amazing how these cars are able to stop and at such a short distance. They are coming through to the final corner now, so Craig is the last one to cross the line. Let's see if he completes the lap or not. And he does. And goes, so doesn't improve with a 1:33.7. So that's the top 10 positions there done. We have George Grundon in pole position with a 1:26.1. So that's the fastest lap all session, including practice. Robbie Stapleford with a 1:26.5 in second position. Damien Hall in third position with a 1:26.5 as well. So Damien very, very close there off Robbie Stapleford's time. Craig Arkell in fourth position with a 1:27.0. Marcel Crew is in fifth position with a 1:27.1. Luke Weston with a 1:27.8. Mick Sutton with a 1:27.8 as well, so very, very close times there. And Alex Brange in 8th position with a 1:28.1. Luke Stevens with a 1:28.6. And Jacob Muskowski rubbing out the end with a 1:29.6. So let's try and have a word with our pole position man, George Grundon. Hi, George. Congratulations. First pole position of the season. How was that lap time? You sort of appeared out of nowhere towards the end of the session.
Yeah, I was honestly just struggling to get a lap. And I got that one in about 3 minutes towards the end. And then on my next lap in front of that, I was another half a second off and then ran out of fuel. So, yeah. But no, it's good. Happy I'm on pole. And hopefully I can carry that momentum in the race.
So you take the championship lead with 1 point as well. So congratulations on that. I think it's going to be quite a close race. I think the top 3 or 4 of you were within sort of 2 or 3 tenths. So have you got your tyre strategy sorted yet? Have you done any long runs?
I've done a few long runs, yeah, and tyres I should be all right on. And
okay.
I'm just going to plan on keep the fast boys behind me, hopefully.
Brilliant. Well, good luck, George.
Thank you.
There we go. So we've got George off there. So we've got the red lights coming on. 6 of them coming out. And off there I go. A lot of tyre smoke there from everyone, as it looks like George has got a good runaway there on the inside. Craig Arkell and Robbie Stapleford all on the right-hand side there. Damien Hall up the inside left. Robbie's trying to go around the outside there, runs wide both, as does Craig. Craig spins as well as he takes too much on the outside line. So George Grundon's got away cleanly. Robbie Stapleford as second. There's a little bit of a gap from Damien in third. Marcel stays in fourth position. The 2 Lukes are battling in fifth and sixth, as there was someone I think just spun off at the bottom there. That was Alex Brange as well, that's a shame for him to drop back there. So that's Jacob as well. So I don't know if that was contact or if that was just a collision between the 2. So there we go. We have Robbie Stapleford in second position. George Grundon has made a slight breakaway, but the top 4 have broken away nice and early. They've dropped back between Luke Stevens already. So we'll jump over to our pit lane reporter, Tom.
There was a bit of a coming together, I think, between Mick and Jacob just at the old hairpin there. Interesting to note that they are both on the soft tyres compared to everyone else on the mediums.
That is a good spot, yeah. So, yes, that's right. So Jacob risking it maybe, or especially Mick as well. So, as I mentioned in the qualifying session, that we saw drivers struggling potentially with a medium tyre as Mick as well lights up the rears and does a beautiful donut for us as everyone else comes through. So that will be really interesting to see how those tyres last. And doing donuts like that isn't going to help him whatsoever. So Jacob there's running wide. I think Jacob's got some damage as well, as does Alex. Alex is running wide there as well. So Robbie Stapleford is up the inside through the Carina curves and takes the lead of the race. But it's not over yet. Can George defend on the inside? No, it looks like Robbie's kept it. Oh, and George gets a little bit sideways there, but managed to keep it. Runs wide, as you can see the dirt kicking up. Has lost a lot of time, 3 or 4 tenths off that. So Damien's closing up. So let's see if Damien can make the most of that. Damien's broken away from Marcel in 4th position. So the top 3 now was broken away, and it tends to be the same top 3 that we saw in the M2 Championship as well. Robbie Stapleford was the champion, George Grundom the second. Damien Hall was the 4th or 5th, I believe, and he missed the round. So Damien is available for all rounds, I believe. So hopefully let's see how he gets on throughout the full season. But you can see Damien takes a lot of the inside curve there. The car's quite stable there, so he has quite a good setup there. But Robbie's again pulled away a little bit, a few more tenths in that second sector. See, he's now 7 tenths already ahead in the first lap. Tom, to you.
I've just seen that Jacob has said that he only has 9 litres of fuel, so I'm assuming he's going to have to make a pit stop.
Yes, it looks like he's not adjusted his qualifying to race setup, which is a shame. But it might also explain why he's gone onto the soft tyre. Mick Sutton is in the pits. I think he's repairing his damage. So let's see if he decides to change tyres or not. But the first competitive lap of the race is done, and it's Robbie Stapleford who has set the fastest lap with a 27.0. George Brennan having a horrible second lap there. We saw he was dropping back. It's 28.1, so 1.1 seconds off. Damien Hall with a 27.6, so 6 tenths off Robbie, but half a second faster than George last lap around. So there's the paces sort of evened out there. You can see it's 5 to 6 tenths first to second, 5 to 6 tenths second or third. So this is very much a 3-horse race at the moment. And we can see Jacob's also spun again. So I have a nice little driver tracker that tells me where the damage is in these cars. We've got a new server for season 2, so it's going to be great. We've got the Lukes battling in a beautiful Williams inspired livery from the I think that's the Nigel Mansell era almost of F1 time. So it's great that they've replicated their liveries, and they're battling on track as well. Their teammates in Tech Speed Motorsport team, I believe they're teammates in karting as well, which is why they're running under that banner. So great that they're getting involved. Luke Stevens is a newbie to the championship, so it's great to have him on board for this season, and hopefully for many seasons to come. So the front 3 are ever so close. Robbie sets the fastest lap of the race again, of a 1:26.8, so very, very close to the qualifying times that we saw earlier on. The last lap between George and Damien was less than half a tenth of the second, so their pace is very, very even. And I think Damien will be a little bit disappointed with his qualifying. I spoke to him a few days ago, and as he was the fastest in practice, and he felt he had a little bit of pace left. He was one of the drivers that was hoping to get into 25, so I think he's going to try and settle down now and try and work a way of getting past George and trying to mount that attack on Robbie. So Mick Sutton has come out of the pit stop. He is a lap down because of the damage. It takes time to repair the damage, but he has decided to opt to the medium tyres as well. And Jacob is now taking his scheduled pit stop. So no doubt he will come back out. We just saw Luke Reston run wide a little bit there, lost a lot of time to Luke in front there. So Marcel's dropping back a little bit actually. Last lap around it was a 27.5. Luke Stevens and Luke Reston's were a little bit slower, but as you can see, a big lock up there from Marcel, which really isn't going to help the tyre wear for these cars. These cars do have ABS. Some drivers elect to use it and some don't. The same with ABS as well. So again, Marcel locks up. And the problem is once you, like in Formula 1 and other racing single-seater series, as soon as you lock up that front tyre and you create a bald spot or a flat spot, you then have the same thing happen again, and it tends to always break and lock that wheel to make it even worse. And you get feedback in these cars, so the drivers will be getting vibrations coming through their steering wheel as the nice round tyre becomes a 50p piece. Alex Range has been off once again. You can see Alex is on the medium tyres because of the yellow tyre wall that we were discussing in practice. In qualifying. So another lap's gone. George matched Robbie last lap around, and Damien was ever so quicker. But again, the top three separated lap time wise by less than a tenth of a second. So it's very, very close out the front there. Marcel Cruz has dropped back, so he's 6.5 seconds off Damien in third position. Luke Stevens is down in 2 seconds behind Marcel, and Luke Weston has slowly caught up with Luke Stevens again after we saw him run a little bit wide there. So that's gone from a second down to half second. So that will tie it. So Craig's recovering from his first corner spin that we saw. He ran wide, and I think that's the problem with his setup. It was a little bit firmer, so the car bounces a bit more off the curbs. So Jacob's come out of his pit stop, and he's still elected to stay on the soft tyre. So that's a very, very bold choice. So we'll go over to Tom in the commentary box, in the pit lane.
I was just going to say there, Scott, that Alex is now in the pits because of his front wing is virtually hanging off. So I don't know how long he's going to be in that pit lane. He's going to lose a lap, definitely.
Yeah, we just see Jacobs come past him there after making his pit stop, which is a shame. But that's the thing about these cars. They are, as we know in all single-seater series, it doesn't take much damage at all to damage the front wing. And as soon as you damage that front wing, you lose a lot of downforce. I was racing in a Formula 3 race last night, and I had someone overtake me, just move in front of me just a little bit too early. Didn't really affect my car at all. But he just clipped that wing, and I lost so much downforce and tyre wear after that. So that's another thing you need to do. Not only does it affect the downforce, if it's making the cars having to have more understeer, so they have to turn more, they have to brake more and accelerate less, it also has a knock-on effect on the tyre wear, and all of this enhances their problems. So Robbie's on a bit of a flying lap at the moment. Looks like this could be a fastest lap of the race, as Luke Weston is all over the back of Luke Stevens now. He's caught up with him, and we can see Luke had a little bit of understeer going into the chicane that we just went through. So it'd be interesting to see who's been able to manage their tyres, and who has. So Robbie goes through and does set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:26.5. George Grundon in second, 26.7, and Damien 26.9. So the pace is dropping off on the front on George and Damien. But Luke has got the slipstream effect now, and it'll be interesting to see if he decides to make a move or not. You just want to challenge your team, well, you don't really want to challenge your teammate to making a mistake, but you want to challenge the driver in front to making mistakes, and try and make him outbrake himself. If he's not got ABS on, then lock the brake and run wide there as well. So they're running through. You get a little bit of dirty air coming off the car, so there's a bit of a play off with being exposed. You get this benefit of the slipstream on the straights, but it does have a little bit of an effect. But Luke Weston definitely seems that he is the faster of the two. As he does, he takes up the inside. Great move there. I don't know if that was a tactical let you past or not, or whether just Luke Stevens did run wide there. So perfectly timed move from Luke, and now Luke's the one. There's too many Lukes. Weston has to try and defend that position as Luke Stevens is all over the back of him already, coming through the chicane there. And is he going to make it? Oh, he's lost a little bit of traction coming out there. So I think that Luke Stevens' tyres might be off a little bit here. He does seem to be struggling from traction as well as understeer, but all the drivers will get into the same boat very, very shortly. So the leaders are coming across the line again. That's Jacob, a bit of an off there. He's off the track by the looks of it. So that's fine. Yes, he is off the track. That's fine there. So last lap around, George Grundle took 2 tenths out of Robbie. And Damien was another 3 tenths off George there. So the gap between the front two is just under a second. It's flickering between 0.8 and 0.9 of a second. Damien's really dropped back to 2.2 now off the lead. Off George, not the lead. So he's about 3 seconds off the lead. Marcel Cruz is holding fourth, a lonely fourth there. The battling Lukes are going to slow each other down. So last lap around, Marcel was 7 tenths faster than the battling Lukes. Luke Weston's now got a little bit of a gap opened up between Luke Stevens. It's up to 8 tenths, although Luke Weston does run wide there and does allow Luke Stevens to close in a little bit. Craig Arkell, 7 seconds back from the battling Lukes. Last lap around, Craig was faster by a second on Luke. So now that Luke Weston's got past, we should expect him to maybe carry on pulling away and to see how Luke carries on and if Craig can close that gap. So over half race distance gone, 8 minutes to go. Just a reminder, this is a 20-minute plus 1 lap race. And Luke Stevens, they're battling again. So Luke Stevens very, very briefly got past. There was obviously a lunge up the inside there. But Luke Weston has managed to keep that position. So, but as you can see there on the timing tower, Craig's now 6.5 seconds back. So that's another second he's taken out of the battling Luke's. Again, so Craig's going to want to carry on for as long as he can. As he crosses the line, does a 28.6 again. So Luke Stevens' last lap was 28.7. So, sorry, Craig did a 27.7. So that's their fastest lap. Craig took nearly 2.5 seconds out of them in that last lap. So the time is coming down. As you can see, actually, the gap from the two Lukes is now 1.2 seconds. So looks like Luke Weston's fine, got away, provided he doesn't make any mistakes. So we just had to keep an eye on that gap from Luke Weston to Marcel. Currently just about under 5 seconds to see whether he can close that in. Damien Hall there again is still hanging around about 2 seconds behind George. But George's last lap has dropped 1.5 off. 1.6 now off of Robbie, so must have made a mistake in that last lap around. On the current lap. So the race is settled down now. It looks like Robbie's going to get the fastest lap for a point for the fastest lap. I can't imagine, even though the fuel is going to run down, I think the tyre wear is going to, as Robbie Staples sets the fastest lap of the race. What do I know? So yeah, my theory of the reducing fuel versus the tyre wear isn't going to be a factor, but Robbie's obviously been able to factor in or manage his tyres there, I mean they look clean, but I think that's the game. But yeah, so let's see. That's great for tyre wear for him. He's obviously quite happy on the mediums. He's been out front for a fair part of the race, so he hasn't had to deal with the dirty air from other drivers. So Damien's last lap around is taken just a little bit out of George, as the gap now is under 2 seconds. The gap from Luke Weston to Marcel's gone out to 6 seconds, so Luke isn't catching. But Craig is definitely catching Luke Stevens. The gap is now 5.3 seconds, so just under 6 minutes to go with another lap. So you're probably looking at about another four laps or so. And Craig is taking. Last lap he took only half a second out, so now Luke's got a little bit of a space as Luke Weston makes another mistake there and has opened the door right up, and Luke Stevens has now gone past again, but Luke Weston will have the inside to this chicane. This isn't being overtaken, and he does decide to back it out there, and I think Craig's made a little mistake there, so he's dropped back to 13 seconds behind, so that's a shame that he's dropped off. They're not taking advantage of that. So last lap around, Damien Hall is set of 26.8, which is 4/10 faster than George Gundon. So that gap is now starting to come down second to third. But the battle between the two Lukes will carry on. It's half a second now. So Luke needs to try and rein in the mistakes there. I think he would have been comfortably ahead of Luke Stevens by now. So hopefully, whether that's tyre wear that he's making sort of running wide, or whether it's just missing points, we'll have to try and speak to him at some point during the week to find out what's going on there. Mick Sutton in 9th place is setting his personal best lap. He's done 2 green sectors as he comes through the last few corners now as well. So Mick's going strong despite his early pit stop and damage as well. Jacob Mostowski on the soft tyre did a 1:30.5, so comfortably slower than all the other drivers on the grid at the moment. So the soft tyres would really be struggling at the moment. So we are up to coming into the chicane again. So this isn't really an overtaking. It's a great place where Luke really gets a good run. Luke Weston gets a good run on Luke Stevens, but again, Luke left the door open. Luke Stevens left the door open. Oh, he gets a wiggle on as he puts the power down now as well, which hasn't helped. So Luke Weston gets back his 5th position. We'll have to see if he can keep that for the last few laps to go. The gap from the leader to George Gwendolyn is just over 3 seconds now, so that's a comfortable margin that Robbie has. So you would expect, bar any mistakes, that Robbie would take back. It looks like Jacob. Don't know if Jacob's recovering there, or if that was just the camera angle. And again, George has got a 2-second buffer there from Damien as well. So the top three look like they are nicely separated. Marcel cruising 15 seconds off in fourth position. Luke Weston 7.5 seconds. So the gap's not really changed between Marcel and Luke. Again, the two Lukes battling and would have slowed that down. You can see the damage to Jacob's car there, as Mick Sutton's coming up to the inside of him, or going around the outside. So this will be for position, I believe. Yes, they're both 2 laps down actually, because of their pit stops. Craig Arkell and Luke Stevens. Craig and Luke Stevens have had a contact there halfway down the back straight, which is interesting. So you can see the damage there to Craig's car. The front wing was actually quite bent. That's quite interesting. We'll have to try and find out what happened there, because Craig was about 10 seconds or so behind Luke Stevens. So unless Luke's made a mistake or spun and Craig's collected him, I'll have to find that out after the race. Jacob there with another spin hit. His car's obviously got damage, so it's not going to be performing very well at all. He's got red damage on the rear wing. So that car's going to be performing very, very badly there. So the Damien is starting to close in on George there. The gap's down to 1.5 seconds. It was just over 2 when we last mentioned it. With 2 laps to go, 2 minutes to go and a lap, you would expect Damien just to be... I don't think Damien's going to be able to eat into that lead too much. So all the drivers now, their medium tyres will be screaming at them, I think. So they'll be wanting the race to be finished. Alex Range at the moment is 4 laps down, but does have the advantage of being on pole position for the second race. So we do the full reverse grid for this exact reason, where if you have a bad race, or if you get caught up in some contact or anything like that, it doesn't ruin your second race as well. And gives you a chance to try and make race 2 better. And in the M2 Championship last year, we saw a number of drivers utilising the reverse grid pole for a race win. So we can see Craig here. You can see that the front of the wing is severely damaged there. It's hanging off. So this car is going to be very, very difficult to drive. You'll probably see he's got a lot of understeer. The car's just not wanting to turn in, so he has to take the corner significantly slower than he normally would. So last lap around, he did a 1:52.9, but that obviously had the contact. So we'll see what lap time he does this time round, to see how much lap time he is losing. And he would have got a lot of tyre wear damage as well, from skidding across the track and lighting up the tyres. So Luke Stevens has also got some damage as well, because Craig's been able to close that gap down. It's under a second now between the two of them as they go into the hairpin of the Melbourne Loop. And Craig does overtake Luke. You can see that on the timing tail. So Craig is now back up to 6th position, which is a good qualifying, good for him. He made an appearance at the M2 Championship last year, so it's great for him to join us on the odd race at the Formula TSC Championship as well. So we've got Robbie is just... So he's crossed the line. So we have the timing tower is at 0. So we have plus 1 lap to go. So he's going to come across the line now to start his final lap. So Damien has really, really closed in on on George Grundon. The gap is now 0.8 of a second. So we can see that lap time there. It's a lot slower. It's nearly a second slower than their best laps of the race. So you have to think that the tyre wear is really, really becoming an issue now. So we'll have to speak to the drivers about that in their post-race interview. So yeah, Damien left it a bit too late. His lap times are still 4 or 5 tenths off his best lap. So he's not losing as much time as George has done. Whereas Robbie Staplewood, again, he's the second off as well. So the tyres are obviously a factor here. And even though the drivers are. So what happened there? That looked like Damien was slow. I think Damien's got a problem there. I think Damien might have run out of fuel, which is such a shame if that is the case. He's now stopping and pulling over. Yeah, these cars won't... Well, they do. You can blow up the engine, but I'm very surprised if that is the case. So that is interesting. So that's a shame. So that drops Damien Hall down. He won't finish, I think. He might be classified, sorry, because he hasn't been lapped. So we'll have to see how that works out in terms of grid for race 2. But that does promote Marcel Cruz up into 3rd position now, which will, I'm sure, will be a nice surprise for him. So Robbie Staplewood comes across the line and takes the opening round win for the Formula TSC Championship. He's taking off where he belongs. So Damien Hill is now back to the pit lane as we are waiting for Marcel to come across the line now. He's just over 20 seconds behind George there. So great race from Marcel, relatively lonely. He's kept it clean, and I'm sure he'll be delighted, and probably doesn't realise at the moment that he's been promoted. He wouldn't have necessarily seen Damien pulled over there. So Luke Weston, that promotes Luke Weston up into 4th position, and he crosses the line. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy with that. Craig Arkell is the next one to cross the line on track. He's quite a way off because of the damage and everything that he's suffered. So he's currently about 2 to 3 seconds a lap slower. So that shows you how much the crashes and the damage can affect lap times. So Craig is coming through. Luke Stevens will be the last car on the track on the lead lap to finish the line. So great race from Craig. He only jumped in the car about 2 hours ago, so great for him to be able to get so used to the car so quickly. And so he'll cross the line there in 5th position. And Luke Stevens again with a very, very battered Paul Williams livery. He will be coming across the line in 7th position, 6th position. So Damien Hall is classified in 6th place, which will have some benefit to his championship there. He wouldn't have gone all the way down to 10th place. So that was an interesting race. Let's speak to our race winner.
I'm afraid we're just going to have to go straight to the grid, Scott. I think we've only got 40 seconds.
Oh, okay, fine, we'll do that. Okay, so we'll try and catch up with the drivers after the race there. So the lights are on, and they are out, and again a big plume of tyre smoke there, as we can see that everyone's got a clean getaway, as it looks like it's all clean through the first sector. A little bit of a lock up there from one of the loops. That is Craig Arkell currently in the lead with Luke Weston in 2nd position. Marcel Cruz has elevated himself up into 3rd position, which is a great start from him there. George Brandon in 4th position, Alex Grange is in 5th, Luke Stevens in 6th, Jacob Nastasi 7th, Mick Sutton 8th, Robbie Staplewood and Damien Hall keeping out of trouble at the back there. Doesn't look like there's been any damage or anything, so it looks like those drivers are just taking it nice and easy. They know the pace that they've got, and they will pick themselves through the grid, hopefully. So Craig's got a nice lead now, opened it up to 7 tenths already. We've got Luke Weston in 2nd position, Marcel Cruz back in his 3rd position. You can see that it looks like Marcel's defending from George there, as George has gone up the inside. Has he made it stick? Yes, he has. So that's a great move from George there. That's not necessarily an overtaking position because of how tight the chicane is and what can go wrong when you get it wrong. So, and Luke looks like he's run wide there. Luke Weston's run wide. He's run very, very deep. Looks like Robbie's had a collision there with Jacob at the back. So Alex Grange has managed to get himself up into 4th position now after Luke Weston dropped down in and run wide into 5th. George, it was Marcel that had the lock up there coming into the last corner as well. So we can see there's a little bit of a breakaway as we jump over to Tom.
I believe Robbie Stapleford had a little bit of a coming together there. I think it might have been with Jacob again. But I think there's a little bit of damage on his front wing there, looking at it. In fact, he's shaking around, so I'm assuming he's got damage. Not good for our race 1 winner.
No, not at all. So Damien Hall, Craig Arkell and George are batting for the lead there. Looks like Craig's just got ahead of it again. Damien's gone to the soft tyres for race 2. So that's quite interesting. I mentioned that he was potentially managing his tyres quite well there. So whether he feels confident enough to run the soft tyre for the entire race distances is a very, very bold decision. As it looks like Alex Sprains has run wide as he's dropping down the order there. So I think, Damien must go for the all or nothing motive after starting down the grid and running out of fuel. Jacob as well has gone on the soft tyres, and I do worry that Jacob once again has forgot to change his qualifying setup. We'll see how he gets on there. So Luke Stevens again has dropped down. Mick Sutton's doing well up into 5th position. Great move by Mick there up the inside of the Melbourne loop. You can see that Damien is lurking behind these two drivers. He'll want to try and make his way through the field as quickly as possible. A little bit of a gap now, so Damien's 4.5 seconds behind Alex in 9th position. So the drivers are setting their first competitive lap times as they cross the line. Craig Arkell with a 28.5, George Grundle with a 28.3, Marcel Cruz with 28.4, and Luke Weston with a 28.7. So most drivers in the 28s, at least in the top half of the circuit. We can see George is really starting to put some pressure on Craig now. He's 2 tenths behind him, and he's taking Marcel along with him. There's a little bit of a gap between... Oh, as Craig runs wide, then he's put it off. He ran wide at the bottom of the Brent Gate, and he's unsettled the car, as we saw him do in the first race. These cars are very, very loose at the rear, and he would have probably got damaged. Yes, he has. You can see the front wing damage there as he went nose in, which is such a shame. He was doing so well there. But that promotes George Grundle up into 1st position. Marcel Cruz comes across now into 2nd place, and he's going to try and keep that gap as little as possible. We saw Marcel have a clean race, but he was off in terms of timings on his teammate George. So Damien's now up into 5th position. He's got ahead of Luke Stevens. There's a little bit of contact there. The two drivers, I think they both got away okay. I think there's a little bit of damage shown on our indicator, but I don't think that's going to cause them too much there. So Damien's doing well in 5th position. George Grundle is currently leading. Marcel Cruz is going with him. The gap to 3rd position, Luke Weston is staying around 1.2 seconds, and Mick Sutton's staying within a second of Luke as well. So it's a great race for Mick. As Mick Sutton sets the fastest lap of the race as well. Fantastic. Although Robbie Stapleford has set 2 purple sectors and is about to cross the line. And I feel that he is. He has taken that away from him. So Mick's having a great second race. Really making the most. And there we go. Curse the commentator. Unfortunately, Mick's run wide there. I think that was coming out of turn 1. Which is a shame. So that's a shame for me, and I feel partly responsible for that. So it was the old hairpin where Craig ran wide, not Red Gate, just to clarify that. So Marcel is dropping back a little bit now from George. It's 1.4 seconds. We saw the gap was around about 20 seconds as the race finished. Luke Weston is going along nicely, so it'll be interesting to see what pace Luke Weston had, as he spent most of the time battling with Luke Stevens and probably lost a lot of tyre life doing that. So the fact he's been able to get out and has already got a buffer behind him where he can just focus on attacking Marcel rather than having to defend and fight with him. He's been able to keep it with that gap under a second, as Marcel does enjoy locking up that front tyre at the Melbourne loop there and the following corner. He's got Damien behind him, but he's a few seconds back, so he hasn't got to start looking in his mirrors just yet. Robbie Stapleford is making his way through the field now, so he's 4.5 seconds behind Luke Stevens. So he's in 6th position at the moment. You can see the damage in the front wing there. It's helped by a few other drivers, so he's helped by Mick going off as well as Craig. So that's promoting him above those two. As we can see, that is Alex Sprains running wide at the background. So Robbie Stapleford again with the 2nd fastest lap, consecutive fastest lap of the race. So he's really putting the pedal down. Give you a comparison to the last lap. So very, very interesting. So Robbie Stapleford a 1:26.740 was his fastest lap and the fastest lap. George Grundle 1:26.749. It's 9 milliseconds in terms of difference there. As Damien runs wide, and he will lose a little bit of time there to Luke as well, which will be to the joy of Luke. So the gap to the first two is dropping. It's increasing now, so it's up to 2.5 seconds. So Marcel isn't. So Luke Weston, Damien Hall, Robbie Stapleford, all behind, were faster that time round. So Marcel is starting to drop off at the pace a little bit. So we'll have to keep an eye on that gap if Luke is able to get past him. as well as Damien as well. So the gap's starting to close, second, third and fourth. Luke Stevens has dropped to 3 seconds behind Damien now, and Robbie Stableford's nearly half the gap to Luke Stevens in front in just the last lap alone. So George Grundon sets the fastest lap, 26.6. So let's see what Robbie does. Robbie set purple sector 1, slower sector 2, but goes across the line and sets the fastest lap, 26.5, so a tenth faster than George. So last lap around, Marcel was 27.5. Luke Weston was a 28.3, so must have made a mistake there where he got some more time. Damien Hall took 6 tenths out of Luke that last lap around. And Jacob, you can see purple personal best time for him of 1:29.5. So Jacob is slower than so Mick Sutton's nearly 2 seconds faster than him, and they are actually within half a second. So yeah, you'd expect that Mick would try and get past Jacob relatively quickly. I can't imagine those soft tyres are going to last too long, especially if Jacob has made a mistake and spun around at some point during the lap. So this seems to be the closest battle now on the track, apart from actually Mick Sutton within a tenth of each other, and I think Mick Sutton is just got gets ahead. As you can see Jacob lighting the rear tyres there, which is only going to add to his woes that he has. So yeah, this is definitely the tightest battle on track at the moment between Damien and Luke. You can see Damien is very, very late, deep on the brakes. So he's making the soft tyres work. He'll probably try the cut back there, and Luke Weston. Oh, that's strange. So Luke Weston came across the timing strange, as in the lead there for a moment there. So I wondered what happened there. So Luke Weston is being attacked by Damien now. Is he going to make a lunge up the inside? He's gone alongside. Luke's kindly left the door open. Looks like Mick Sutton's made another little spin coming out of the Melbourne loop, and that's dropped him down to last position again. So Jacobs regained that position from him. So this is very close. Damien has got past it, although Luke is all over the gearbox of him. It brakes a little bit later. You can see that it was almost like an elastic band effect. Robbie Stapleton's now gone ahead of Luke Weston as well. So he's now 4.2 seconds off as Alex Grange runs wide at the I think he ran wide. He was battling with Craig there, so I think he must have run wide and put the wheel on the grass and spun around. So yeah, that keeps Craig in 7th position now. He's 7.3 seconds behind Luke Stevens in 6th position. Luke's already dropped 1.3 seconds behind Robbie, as we saw in that move. So Robbie to Luke is 3.5 seconds. You can see it on the timing stream there. So let's see how quickly it takes. Luke was a little bit cautious on the power there. He lost half a second just on that little bit of a straight from Damien. So Damien's now 1.3 seconds off Marcel in 2nd position. So this soft tyre play is working a treat at the moment. Damien's really got the pace and seems to be going around about the same, if not faster than what we saw in the first race. So it's working so far, but you just have to question whether whether he's able to keep the tyre life alive. The problem you have with the soft tyre is when you're pushing like in a qualifying run, they get very, very hot, which means they lose grip. Because they're too hot, they can't grip the track as much as they would do normally, and then that can wear the tyres out as well, because they start to slide across the tyres, across the track. So that's the problem you have with the soft tyre. In qualifying runs, drivers will do 2, maybe 3 laps, and then pit and get rid of it, because it's not up to scratch. So the fact that Damien's been able to do so well so far, and he's closing in on Marcel as well in front, the gap's just over half a second. It's a great drive. So I guess we suspect my suspicions of Damien managing the tyre wear was correct, as we saw Luke Weston in the background there, bobbing along the curb. It's lost a little bit of time, which is going to allow Robbie a great run. He's really going to close that gap. That gap's now 8 tenths and closing because of that mistake. So Robbie really aggressive on the curb there. He gets a little bit of a wiggle off and manages to keep it. And so let's see, it's now 7 tenths of a second. Marcel cruised again, and Luke also locks up again there. So Luke's tyres probably screaming at him right now. Robbie did set the fastest sector 1 of the lap as well, so it could be on for another fastest lap. Although I suspect now he's caught up to the back of Luke in front. That's not going to happen. But Luke's only 1.5 seconds off. So Damien's gone up to 2nd position there. Just missed that overtake. So he's now 7.2 seconds off George in 1st position. The gap from Marcel to Luke is only 1.5 seconds as well. So if Robbie can get past Luke, which he's alongside as he's coming through the crane of curves. He's up the inside. Luke gives him room. Doesn't want to lose too much time by losing that position. So Robbie's now got a great chance of at least getting on the podium. He's half a second off Marcel now, who again is not too far ahead of Damien. So Robbie will want to try and close in and get past Marcel as quick as he can, so he doesn't lose time to Damien. So the gap from the leaders come down as well. It was in the 7 seconds. It's now 5.9 as well. So the last lap around, Robbie Stapleford set wasn't the fastest lap of the race. It was very, very close. It was a 26.6. So he's the only guy in the 26s at the moment. George Grundy was a 27.3, which is the best time around. And then Damien was a 27.8. So there's a very, very fast lap times between these drivers at the moment, because they're all battling it out to try and claw back some lost positions. So Damien's got nearly a second gap on Marcel, and Robbie's about to put the pressure on him as well. So Robbie, you would expect Robbie to try and close in, and whether he can get him down at the through the crane curves like we did the last lap around. So George Grundy, we said the gap was closing. He did a 29.3, which is 2.3 seconds, sorry, 3.2 seconds off his fastest lap. So he must have made a mistake. Either that or his tyres are well and truly gone, but I imagine it was a mistake. Damien Hall did a 27.9, so he took nearly 2 seconds out of him that last lap around. Robbie Staplewood, again, the only man still in the 26s with a 26.8. So it's Jacob and Alex, or Jacob's managed to get past Alex. I think Alex has made another mistake. As there we go, that's the move there. Robbie's up the inside of Marcel. Marcel looked like he went a little bit too deep on the brakes. Marcel isn't going to make it up easy to him. Oh, Marcel runs wide as well, so he's probably going to lose fourth position. That gives Luke Weston an opportunity. So can Luke Stevens benefit? He's back 7 seconds back. I think 4 seconds, 2 seconds. I think he might be able to get it. He's going to at least allow him to battle with him. I think he is going to lose fifth position as well. So that's such a shame. He tried to fight Robbie on the outside, and it just isn't as much grip there. You put the power down too early, and it just forces you wide. So that's a shame for Marcel. He had a great race one. That's dropped him down to 6th position. He's 6 seconds ahead of Craig in 7th position. So and he spins as well, which isn't going to help. So his tyres are red hot from when he did the trip for the gravel. You can see Craig passing him there as well. So Marcel's dropped down. He will stay ahead of Mick. There's a big enough buffer for him. So that just shows you how easy it is. As you can see, there's a lot of damage again to Craig's car on the front wing. So Robbie Staplewood 1.2 seconds behind Damien Hall. The gap from first and second stayed around about 5.8 seconds. Last lap around, George was back in the 27.5s, which goes to show that it was a likely mistake. Damien was a 27.6, so he lost a little bit. Robbie Staplewood down to 27.5 as well, so he lost a little bit of time in that last lap, but still ever so slightly quicker than Damien, and he was 0.3 faster in second one as well. So Robbie's got the bit between his teeth. He's really after that second position. You've got 4.5 minutes to go in a lap, so it'll be interesting to see whether Robbie would be able to close down George. The sector times are Robbie's probably going to take nearly a second out of George at the moment, the way it looks. But Robbie's all over the back of Damien now. So he's going to go around the outside of the Melbourne loop, which is a very, very bold move. You've got to trust Damien there not to run wide, because Damien can easily have put Robbie into a spin there. But it looks like he's going to get the inside line coming through the last one. As he does, but Damien doesn't want to give it up. And there's a little bit of wheel bash in there, but I think that'll be okay. It was wheel to wheel, I think, rather than wing to wheel. So as long as it doesn't affect the aerodynamics of the car. So Robbie's back into the 26s, even despite overtaking Damien there as well. So the gap's 6.3 seconds. With 3 minutes to go, so we'll get about maybe four laps in. So we'll have to keep an eye on the lap times around. So Alex Francis unfortunately had another spin. His car is red on all corners, so it's the chicken and egg. As soon as it goes, the car's gone, and it's going to handle even worse, and then he's more likely to spin. So Craig's got ahead of Marcel, as we saw on the stream. So Craig's kept 6th position. Marcel's 4.6 seconds back on Craig there. So Marcel last lap around was 0.8 faster. So we'll have to keep an eye on that gap as well. See if Marcel can try and claw his way back up. Mick Sutton-Nares also had a little off. He's dropped down a little bit there, but it looks like so Jacob's just got past Alex there as well into ninth position. So Damien, he's last. Oh, Alex is well and truly off. That might be broken. I think he's retired from the race there. So Jacob on the soft tyres. Last lap was a 1.30, so he's consistent. But unfortunately he's consistently in the 30s, so those tyres are well and truly shot compared to Damien. Damien's lap times are also dropping off now as well. His last lap around was 28.5. Has he just crossed the line? Yes, he has. So 28.0 for him. Robbie Stableford with a 26.9, so 1.1 seconds faster. Robbie there. So the tyres did the job. They did what he needed to do. He managed to get himself back up into third position. Damien was still faster than Luke in fourth position, so it looks like Damien's going to be able to just manage that tyre for the rest of the race and keep that third position. So the gap first to second is 5 seconds, so it's closing down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to, unless George makes a mistake, I don't think it's going to hamper his time there for race victory. I think it should go to George, but we've seen so many times where Robbie's 5 or so seconds off with 2 laps to go, and whether it's the drivers in front decide to ease off a little bit too much, or Robbie just really puts the power down and uses all of the life of the tyres. We've seen him claw those gaps down, so we can't count him out fully, but we've got the time they're coming across the last few corners now, so they'll have 2 laps to go, I believe, after once they finish this lap. So that will be a very impressive drive from Robbie if he can do that. So Damien is now dropping back to nearly 3 seconds behind. So Damien's tyres are well and truly gone, which is but they did exactly what he needed to do. So it's a fantastic decision, very bold decision as well. I mean, I wonder if we'll see anyone do that again next time round, whether it was the fact that Damien felt he could handle the tyre life, or whether he wanted to use the pace of the soft tyre initially to try and get through the field, and once he was there he felt that he could then manage the pace and sort of consolidate that position, which is effectively what he's done. So it'll be interesting to see whether anyone else follows suit, or whether it's just Damien's driving style is he's able to eke that tyre life out compared to others. One spin or mistake from Damien could wreck that tyre preservation job though, so he's got to be very careful on how he goes about that. So last lap around, Robbie Stableford took 4 tenths out of George in first so they're coming through, they're halfway through the lap. George has got a back marker in front of him, so hopefully that doesn't cause any problems in terms of slowing him up. Looks like Jacob has got out of the way. Yes, he has, so that's good. That hasn't slowed him down too much at all. The gap's dropped to 4.2 seconds, but I don't think that's anything to do with Jacob. I think it's just general lap time. So they were very close in sector 1, and that was sector 2 that Robbie took the time out. So Damien's really dropping off now. You can see that he's losing almost 2 seconds a lap to Robbie in second. But Luke isn't able to close in to get that third position. The gaps are very spread out now throughout the field. The closest battle is really... Oh, who was that? I thought that was Robbie then. That was Jacob running wide and spinning coming out of the turn 1. So yeah, the closest gap on track at the moment is first to second, 4.2 seconds. Last lap around, Robbie took another 7 tenths out of George. Damien was a 28.8 and Luke was a 28.5. So Luke took a little bit of time out as Robbie spins. He's run wide and he's hit the wall there as well. He'll get a lot of damage from the front wing. Is he able to keep second? Those drop downs, so Damien's got that back. Is he able to keep ahead of Luke? I think he might just lose out. I don't think he's going to have enough speed. Yeah, Luke's got the momentum there, and so Luke Weston goes through into third position. That's very strange to see a mistake from Robbie. He just ran a little bit wide, put too much power down and lost the rear, so that promotes Damien back up into second position and Luke into third. Comfortable gap for Luke Stevens in fifth for Robbie, so I wouldn't expect Luke to be able to catch Robbie there. Robbie, as you can see, has a lot of damage even on the rear wing there, so we'll have to try and see what happens with his lap time. So we've got George Grundy. The car's handling very badly there, as you can see. He can't even make the corner there, so that's a shame. He's only got a few laps to go, so I think George is coming through the last corner as he crosses the line. Is this the final lap? It is. So George Grundy with a fantastic drive. Really, really great weekend from him. The first and the second is fantastic. Damien Hall comes across the line and takes second position. Luke Weston will get that podium. Now, is Robbie going to be able to keep that fourth? He is. Look at the state of that car. You can see the steering wheel there, how bent that is, that he's having to turn severely left to keep the car straight. But he's managed to get it across the line. He'll park it up. Luke Stevens comes home in fifth position. Craig Arkell will come across the line in sixth. So a great opening weekend for Craig. Marcel Cruiser wasn't able to claw that gap back. It was still 4.9 seconds in seventh position. Mick Sutton is the last drive on the lead lap. He's one lap down. So it was such a good, promising start from Mick. He had a fantastic opening few laps, and then he unfortunately makes a mistake and wrecks the tyres, and that's it. So it's just such a shame there from Mick. So we'll speak to the top three drivers of the second race quickly, and then we will try and get hold of the drivers who finished in the top three in the first race as well. So let's grab a word with our race 2 winner, George. Hi, George. Congratulations on that second race. Sorry we didn't get time to speak to you in the first race, but relatively comfortable race for you there? Is George there? No. Okay, we'll try and come back to George then. Kick him up. So let's talk to Damien Hall then, who is our second place man. Hi, Damien. Congratulations, second place there. The soft tyre was an interesting strategy. How did you make that work? Again, we're having troubles with Damien as well.
No one wants to talk to you, Scott. That's what it is.
Oh, that's not very nice, is it? Okay, let's try Luke in third. Hi, Luke. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
You can. Finally, someone wants to talk to me. The first two drivers didn't want to talk to me. It was a great race for you there in third position. You had a battle all day long with your teammate in race 1, and you sort of was able to show your true pace in race 2 and made the most of Robbie spinning out towards the end there.
Yeah, it was good. Decent battle with Luke in the first race. I was happy to take P4 in that, and then I thought I'm happy to take another P4 in race 2, and then made the most of Robbie. Not sure what happened to him, but I saw him going slow, and I managed to make the most of that. Yeah,
he just ran wide and I think hit the walls. So he had a bit of damage there. So fantastic result. You're currently third in the championship at the moment. So how are you liking the car? Does it suit your driving style at all? Is this something you're expecting to do for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the season. I love the Formula cars and the British circuit, so that should be good. Should be good.
Fantastic. This season. Brilliant. Well, so fantastic opening weekend for you, and hope to speak to you more as the season goes on.
Yeah, and you. Thanks, Scott.
Cheers. Right. Should we see if our race winner's around again? Hi, George. Are you there?
Oh, yeah, finally.
You're there. Sorry, we brought you in a minute ago and you wasn't speaking. Sorry about race 1. So race 2 was a fantastic race for you. You relatively easy. How was you able to manage that gap as the race went on?
Honestly, yeah, I think that was one of the best drives I think I've ever done. I struggled with tyres at the end. Need to work on that a little bit, but yeah, I managed to maintain that gap, and yeah, I'm really happy with that. Yeah,
so we saw most drivers going on the medium. So Damien actually did a soft for race 2, which I thought was very interesting. Was you considering the soft tyre at all?
I was honestly considering the hards for the second race, because I overdrove the mediums quite hard at the start, and then let Robbie pass me, and yeah, so I stayed there with the mediums, and it was a good shout. I don't think the hards would have been a good choice.
Yeah, so I think we'll see that as a trend for the rest of the season. I think it's struggle on the medium and see how you get on. So you're currently leading the championship. So I'm not sure if you saw in your wing mirror, but Robbie made a mistake on the last lap as well and dropped down. I think he finished 4th or 5th. So that's given you the championship lead going into round 2.
That's excellent.
How are you finding the car? Does it suit your driving style?
Honestly, no. I'm used to a lot more loose, slidey cars, and yeah, it's I'm trying to get into it. There's a few little things to work on, but yeah, it's going good so far.
Okay, fantastic. Well, hopefully we'll speak to you throughout the season. Hi, Damien. Are you there? No. So Damien's not there. Let's try and have a quick chat with Robbie. Hi, Robbie. Can you hear us? No one wants to. Oh, hello. You're there. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry, we didn't get to speak during race one. There was a slight timing error on the server. So race one went really well. Race two, not quite so much.
Yeah, race one was really good. Just got a good start, kept behind George, and then he made a mistake and just got by him at the first corner, and then just pulled away and made a gap. Race two, just made a comeback from the two mishaps on the first lap, and then someone clearly decided to put a bump at the old hairpin, and yeah, just hit the bump, and the car just drove into the wall. So
yeah, we saw that on the stream. Was that just a case of pushing too hard to try and close down George?
Just ran a bit wide, and the car just like flew up and into space.
Brilliant. How did you find the tyre wear and sort of the tyre life throughout the race?
It didn't really affect me really. I was pretty much doing exactly the same times throughout the race really. So
yeah, towards the end of the second race, you were the only driver in the 26s. So yeah, obviously you're another driver that can handle. Would you consider the soft in future races?
I should have tried it really. I was going to try it, and I thought, nah, everybody's going mediums, and so I went mediums. But the rears were getting to red, so I think the rears were going off. But
yeah,
I just kept on short shifting coming out the hairpins, and it seemed to work. So maybe round one of the other tracks were a bit smoother and not as quick as Donington, and might try it, see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, great start to the season for you, at least for the first race, and I'm sure we'll speak to you again soon.
Cheers, Scott.
Okay. We are trying to get hold of Damien. It says that he's connected. Are you there, Damien? No. I think Damien's got a little bit of connection issues. So we'll try and get Damien next week, which is a shame. So that is round one done already. So George takes the lead, as you can see there in the championship, by 3 points. Robbie in second position with 35 and Luke Weston in 28. So it's a little bit of deja vu in terms of George, Robbie, Damien around the front. Luke Weston with a great weekend, and it looks like he could be a contender this year. We'll always see drivers in and out of the of sort of the top three, depending on the car. So Luke didn't get on too well with the M2. He had a few podiums, which was good, but obviously the single seater, as he mentioned, is right up his street. So what do you think, Tom?
I mean, yeah, it's for a very first event in this championship. I don't think people did too badly. People are still getting used to the cars, so there was a few incidents, as even our M2 champion made a small mistake, but it's going to be a close one, I think. Definitely between George, Robbie, and possibly Damien as well. Yeah,
definitely Damien. And also we've got drivers like Jeremy and Dominic, who were with us for most, if not all, of the M2 races, are due to participate, especially Jeremy. So, you've also got those drivers who unfortunately couldn't race tonight, but are likely to do the rest. So it's going to be a similar situation to what Damien had last year, where he's at the front most of the time. And Damien still came fourth or fifth, I think, in the M2 Championship, despite missing around. So those drivers, again, will come in and start taking points away from people like Robbie and George. And it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be quite as clear cut as we saw in the M2 Championship.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a longer championship as well, if you think about actual time frame. Last time it was 7 weeks. This time we're going in nearly into the into the beginning of August. The 31st of July there is our last round there at Alton Park. So it's a long time frame for everyone to be involved in the championship, but it also gives them the opportunity to have a break, recoup, and learn the car for 2 weeks basically before we go to Brands Hatch next weekend. So it'll be interesting to see how everyone kind of develops as the season goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. Brands Hatch, I think, is slightly shorter in terms of length, so you might see certain drivers, as Rory said, especially like Silverstone International. Be interesting to see how the tyre strategy plays out, and I think George made the point that I was saying in qualifying in terms of are you going to go for the medium tyre and just try and preserve it as much as you can, or are some people even going to go for the hard tyre and push? So Snetterton is obviously a 3-mile circuit, which has got a lot of fast to medium corners in it. So, that could really affect the tyres as well. So, these are the factors that we didn't get to have with the M2 Championship as well. So using drivers' skill as well is quite key as to how they manage the wear.
Absolutely, and the aero side of it, you had a little bit of incident in the M2, and it wasn't the end of the world because they don't have any aero. They understeer as it is. So these single seaters are definitely a challenge for our racers, and as I say, it'll be fantastic to see how they develop over the course of the 6 rounds.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to it. So we've got, for the Formula TSC Championship, we've got a week off, and we will be back on the 22nd of May.
Absolutely. We are back next weekend, though, with the Clio Cup, the British Clio Cup, which will start again at 7:25, so you join us again for that. Thank you very much for commentating, Scott. I know you wanted to be on the circuit this weekend, but...
Yeah, I had the practice pace. I was faster than David in practice, which is shattering, but never mind. Maybe next time.
Well, thank you very much for commentating. Thank you much to everyone at home as well, and we will see you all next time. From all of us, Thank you very much. Goodbye.